The G6 PTZ was announced a little while ago and I finally have one in my hands now. So let's take a look at what comes inside the box. And this is the G6 PTZ. So looking at this initially, it's a little bit bigger than the previous G5 PTZ, and I'll put this against side by side. So this is the G5 PTZ. We'll have a look at a side by side physical comparison a little bit later, but you can see in terms of the size of the box, it's a little bit smaller than the G6 PTZ. And the main reason for one of that is probably this one right here, which didn't come in the previous one. And this can either be used as a ceiling mount, not an in-ceiling mount, or a table stand. And it shows those two pictures on the side right there, so hopefully you can see those. We have this mount that we saw on the previous G5 PTZ, and we have the main camera as well. So this feels a little bit heavier than the previous one, so there is a bit more weight to it. We have the same aluminium alloy build, and we have the polycarbonate on some areas as well. We have this for the in-ceiling mount, and we have a template also as well. We also have the standard leveling guide that you see, and we have this, which is for the pole mount. So if you're going to be strapping this to a pole, you're going to need something like this. The last few things inside would be one of the Jubilee clips. So if you are using the wall mount, you have the Jubilee clip, and then we have an ejection tool, we have a Torx screwdriver, and then we have some plugs and some screws. And that's pretty much everything that comes inside the box. And there's a couple of other screws in here as well. So we'll have a look at what some of these do a little bit later. And before we finish up the unboxing section, let's take a look at the lenses that are inside. So these are the two lenses that are there. You can see them a little bit closer, hopefully. They are 1/1.8 inch 8 megapixel sensors inside, so they do give off a 4K image. What I am going to do for the time being until I get this mounted is I'm going to pop this back on for the time being. Before we go any further and getting it powered on, let's start with the specifications of this unit. And as I mentioned, it's a dual 4K lens, so we can see two. So there's one telephoto lens and one wide angle lens. This is the first time Ubiquiti have done this style lens in a camera. So really excited to see how that's actually going to work. And they've kind of labeled that as a 10-time hybrid zoom. So if we jump into the technical specifications, as you can see right there, the 10 times hybrid zoom, which is a combination of 5 times optical and 2 times digital. We have 4K resolution, and these are the field of views that you can see with both the wide angle lens and the telephoto lens. We have the pan and tilt, which is the same on both cameras, whether it's the G5 or the G6. This has two-way audio over the G5, and I will do a comparison against the G5 in terms of specs later. IP66 weatherproofing and IK04 vandal resistant, and you have a whole bunch of mounting options. So just like the previous one, like the G5 PTZ, we have a whole bunch of mounting options. So there's wall, surface, pole, and you can get yourself a corner mount, in-ceiling mount, pendant mount, and conduit adapter that are available additionally. Inside the box, we've seen the surface and ceiling mount, we've seen the pole mount, and we also have a wall mount that we've seen as well. And we'll dive into those in a little bit more detail in a few moments. It's got 100 megabit port on it, it's 30 frames per second. So again, we'll be diving all into that into this video. The max power consumption of this camera is around 24.5 watts, so keep that one in mind when you're doing your PoE consumptions. We have a quad-core A53 based processor in it, same as some of the other G6 cameras, micro SD card for edge recording, and I think that pretty much covers up the tech specs. So let's look at the mounting options. So you had a few different options when it came to mounting. We saw wall, surface, pole, and ceiling also as well. And these are these devices right here that you can choose. So we have this one right here, which you would strap onto a pole and then connect this device to, and then you can pop your camera in here. So that would be the pole. We have the wall, which is simply just this one. You could take this part out, which I will do just now for you. That will do just now. And we'll take this out and we can screw this up against the wall. So there's a couple of screws at the back just there. Pop that in, pop the cable through, and you're good to go there. So that's that one. We have the ceiling mount, which is this right here, and we've removed the rubber silicone off the bottom. You can see that removes, and then that can clip straight into there and get connected. And just like the other one, you pop your camera in here and you're connected to the ceiling. Or we have the desk mount, which is what we're going to do here initially. So we're going to feed a cable. You have a waterproof grommet just here, which you can feed the cable through. And you can see that actually does expand, so you can definitely get a booted cable through there. And we can feed that through just like that. And then we can pop it into the camera and let it get powered up. Now, to get this mounted, you pop this on like so, and I'll show you just here. Once this is sat, you just twist and you'll feel that click into place, and that's that then set, and that's obviously move. That's quite loud if you do that, so keep that one in mind. That took me by shock. So that is a bit loud when that powers on, but you can see that that is now set up and ready to go. The rubber feet on the bottom keeps it fairly sturdy. Even though it's very top heavy, it doesn't feel like it's going to knock over very easily. I think with a reasonable amount of force, yes, it will knock over, but the way it's sat at the moment, it isn't easily going to get knocked over with a bit of wind or someone walking past, so we're good on that side. I think I've mentioned this previously where we spoke about the upside down U. I think it was on the AI PTZ, a picture that we saw, so when it's sat on the desk. So I would be very intrigued if Ubiquiti would come up with sort of, or something that actually is raised from this, that you can turn it upside down to make it the right way depending on what it is. So just looking at this from the front, you can see the upside down U, and yeah, it kind of annoys me a little bit. But yeah, it's that's just one thing from an aesthetics perspective. The last thing is from this, you can see we have the SD card slot at the bottom right here. There's a Torx head on here, that was the screwdriver that came with it. You can open this in and pop the SD card in. Just to show you, if we launch the Unify Protect app, and if we go back to the main cameras, you can see there's a new device found, which is the PTZ camera, which we have plugged in right here. We'll let that go off and add, and we'll come back to the computer and take a look. So the G6 PTZ is adopted, and let's have a quick look at the settings before we get this installed outside. So we have down here what it's plugged into, the firmware version and the internal storage. So I have put one in there, and what we can do is quickly go to manage, and we can see continuous or events only. So you can save space by just doing events only, and whether you want high quality or low quality resolution recording. So we can do that. We can format the storage. So it's currently saying it's unknown. So we're just going to quickly format that in the background. We have the recording settings. Now we have when to record, which is always, the recording mode, which is continuous events only, or the adaptive. So this is new for Unify Protect 6.0. I've turned off create motion events, but we want to create the AI events. So we have all the AI events. So it does all the smart detections, as opposed to the G5 PTZ, which doesn't do face and license plate. So we have those additional ones on here, and all the audio type detections as well. In terms of recording quality, I can't see anything what we initially saw about the dual lens recording with 15 and 30 frames per second. So we do have a custom, which we can change it down to 15 frames per second if we want, but there doesn't seem to be one or the other in terms of the device itself. In terms of compression, we have auto or custom, so we'll leave that as auto. The encoding, we have standard, advanced, and enhanced. And then the recording resolution. Do you want 2K, 4K, or HD? And then pretty much everything else is the same. We have the recording retentions, we have the motion zones, smart zones, and if we want privacy blackouts. And then the final one is the settings themselves. So we have the microphone, we have image tuning if you want to make any changes to that, microphone, which you can disable when recording, or noise reduction. So you have those. And then we have the night vision. So we have the custom down here. We have the IR filter and IR LED, or IR filter only. And then we have the color night vision spotlight. So we can click custom if we want to have the light on when it gets dark at a certain time and we want it on all the time, or if we want it on at a certain point when there's motion, we can have the color night vision here. So I'm going to change that to 30 seconds. So if there's no motion for more than 30 seconds, that will automatically turn off. We have the home view, and again, we'll set this up once this is outside. This will be the home view and the presets. I won't go through any of the camera specific settings until we've got it mounted outside. And then we have the real-time streaming protocol. So nothing really different that you would see from any other camera. The best tip I can give you when installing these, make sure you run the cable before you get all of this installed. So just partly install this, get the cable run up from the back if it's coming from the back, and then get it through the rubber grommet through there, and then that's now ready to install. So we can then tighten this up, and then we tighten up the other side, and there we go. And there we go, that's rock solid in there. The cable's coming up from underneath that you can see, and then it's coming down here. So we can get the little cap fitted on top, which is this right here. Push that back. There's a screw that goes in up here to make sure it's secure and it's not easily taken out. And then we're going to install the PTZ camera right here. It's going to be a bit difficult to do with one hand, but we basically need to pull the cable completely back, push this up and turn it, and that's now ready to use. Now the G6 PTZ is all installed, let's have a quick look at some of the settings within the actual camera itself. So in the top left hand side we have two, go to timeline and find anything. So find anything is the new feature we've seen in Protect 6.0, and it will go and filter specifically by that camera, and you can then use all those settings on the left hand side to choose and filter down. We have reset to home. Now these are some buttons that are only available on the PTZ, which goes to the end of the drive. So that's going to then zoom in there. We have two, which goes across to the car. And then we can reset to home if we want. We can click that button and it will go back to the original settings. And you can create multiple presets however you see fit for your setup. you can use the patrol mode, so you can actually create a patrol and choose the different presets that you've selected to patrol between them. So that option is now available. We have auto tracking. So with this, you have person and smart zoom. Smart zoom is the optical zoom which adjusts to give you the best clarity of image, which is what we want. And then person tracking is if, as it says, it tracks a person if it sees it. And we'll have a look at that just shortly because I did do some testing on that. We have mouse control. We can add shortcuts to this if we want. And then we have all the detection types on here, from face, person, vehicle, all the way down to confidence level and object idle time, which you can see behind. We have an SUV, black, number plate, and also the object idle time. You can take a snapshot and we can take a quick look at the settings. We have motion zones, smart zones, privacy blackout, and then obviously what you want in terms of the overlay of the information. And then image tuning, we have shutter exposure, HDR, and then all the stuff that you generally see on the other cameras. The only one that you've seen that might be a little bit different is the color night vision. So if you want that on, you can go and do that. And again, we did some testing with that and I'll show you that in a little while. At the bottom, we have the image quality, the two-way audio, the talk if you want to talk through it, and also the zoom function. The first zoom you see is general, the image zoom that we see on all the cameras. But if you want to be able to use that optical zoom, and I'm just going to move up here to give you a quick reference. So I can use this and I can go 2, 3, and you can see then it focuses in a little bit further. 4, I'm just showing you every step of the way so you can see what's happening on the lens itself. 5, 6, 7, and then I won't go all the way through. We'll go through to 10 and we'll look a little bit up, and you can see that car is probably well over 45 meters away and it picks the license plate up perfectly clearly. So you'll see shortly, I'm very impressed with the image quality of this and how far the zoom is and the clarity of it. And we'll have a look at that again in just a moment. We start with the daytime footage, and this is me standing approximately 40 plus meters away. Anybody that's seen me do any of my videos previously, you'll see that I've done these kind of things before where I'm standing far away. And this is about 40 meters. So I'm just lining this up and you can see I've just zoomed in just here and realigning the camera to see where I am. And for anybody looking for this to use at distance, that is a very clear image considering how far I'm standing. I can only imagine what the AI PTZ will be like in terms of clarity, but this standing 40 meters away, it is a very good clear image. You can see the green box around my face. You can see it's recognized me as a person and the 93%, but the green box means it's picked up my face specifically, which is quite good. So this is now me walking towards my drive. I'm going to speed this up ever so slightly, so we don't need to watch it all in one time speed. And there you go. Again, it's still picked up my face exactly and it's recognized who I am. So 82% clarity. This is about 25 meters away at the edge of my drive. And then this is me bringing the zoom back bit by bit, and then went a bit wrong there, but adjusting the zoom or adjusting the pan and tilt accordingly so it picks me up. Again, there you go. Still that face is recognized 82%. And then we're getting closer. And there we go. That's me at the edge of my drive, putting that all the way back to 1x zoom. And we're just about to do a quick audio test as well. So this is at normal volume. You should be able to hear this coming through. So let's have a little play.
This is an audio test of the camera standing about 3 meters away. This is an audio test of this camera standing about 5 meters away. This is an audio test of the camera standing about 8 meters away.
So that was the audio clarity. So that's come through relatively well. It's fairly clear. Obviously, the further you stand away, it's going to be a little bit quieter, but overall, I think that's a really good sound that came through. Next, we're going to have a look at the person tracking and we see how this works. So now I've set this, I've ticked the button to set the tracking of the person. And again, I'm about 40 odd meters away, maybe a little bit further, 42, 43. And then I'm walking behind a bush here and it still follows me and picks me up where I am, where I'm going behind this bush. And obviously it completely loses sight of me. So it's going to return back to home. But you'll notice in the top left-hand side of the image, where I'm going to be walking through and then back down to the drive. So we'll see how well and how quickly this picks me up. So again, there we go. Just as I enter my drive, it's picked me up and it's zooming into me. So there we go. There we go. And that's picked me up at the edge of the drive 5 meters away. So the person tracking seems to work very well. And for those that want to see what the clarity is like for license plate detection and car detection. So this is me reversing into my drive. It already knows the car through machine learning and it's figured out what it is. So it's got my number plate already, but you can see right at 5 meters away, that's a relatively clear number plate to read. and just reversing back into the spot, and then you can see the front of the car as well. We had to wait a little while for this to get a little bit darker, so it was around about 10:30 at night that we started recording this. So we've turned off person tracking at the moment, and this is me just walking from the back of my drive. You can see it's picked me up there. It's already recognized that there's a person, and I'm walking towards the front drive right here. Again, I'll speed this up ever so slightly for those that want to see this. So yep, there I am. So it's picked up my face there already, and then I'm going to walk off and we're going to turn on person tracking, so you can see that's picked me up again. This is me about 25-ish meters away, and I'm walking back and back, and it's still zooming in. This was about 8 times optical zoom here, so you can see the image does get a bit fuzzy. Doesn't pick me up fully, but you have to appreciate this is me standing nearly 40 plus meters away at this point in the dark. There's a street light just there, but yeah, not too much more than that. And I've moved along to the other side here where I was previously, so I'm just going to test out the tracking here. So it has picked me up as I moved across. I didn't think it would, but then I've gone behind that bush, and I've disappeared from there. But you can see we can read the license plate from that far. And again, just like the previous one, you'll see me popping up in the top left-hand corner, and let's see how well we do on the tracking side of things. So whereas previously it picked me up at the edge of the drive right here, it's probably picked me up about 15 meters into the drive. And there we go. It's picked up my face as well. So it's recognized me as a person because I'm a known face. And there we go. And for anyone wanting to know at this point, yes, my other cameras are turned off on the drive, and you can see me now reversing into the driveway. So there's no other IR light bleeds from them. It's picked up the number plate because it knows it. But this is me reversing into the drive. So this is now the final test that I'm going to be running with the color night vision. So it's on at the moment. I have turned my lights off that are generally on my driveway from time to time. They are under a motion sensor. So yeah, this is me. I'm just waiting for the lights to turn off. And there we go. And there we go. Now I'm walking towards the drive. The person tracking is still on at the moment at this point. So I think it's a little bit closer. Just about here is where it picks it up. So it's picked a person up. It's turned the light on. And you can see it's tracking me right there. There we go. And that's what it looks like with the color night vision at nighttime. To get the most out of your PTZ camera, you're probably going to want to play around with Alarm Manager. So let me just show you and set the scene. So I've put the PTZ in my back garden that you can see right here, and I have another camera in my back garden that's currently watching. So I have 2 different entrances from either side of the garden where you can come in. What I've quickly done is created a left side, which is just down here, and a right side, which is just here. And I want the PTZ to turn either direction when someone walks into those areas of the garden. So if we go down to Alarm Manager, and you can see I have PTZ right side and left side. I have already tested these and worked with these just to make sure, and then I can show you how they work. So to create them, it's really simple. We go in, we find an object. So I want to know when a person is detected, and I want to include my back garden and that specific side zone just there. I want the PTZ to go to a preset, and then I want it to go to a right side. And then it goes back to home after 10 seconds. And I did the same with the left side. So if I go PTZ left side and I click edit alarm, I've done person, PTZ left side, and then I'm choosing the left side for it to go. Now you can actually choose patrol as well if you wanted to do patrol, but there's no patrol set at this point. So I've chosen the left side and I'm going to make it go there. If we cancel out of here, because we've already made those changes. And if I go to this timeline here, this is the multi-view timeline if you've not seen this before. I'm hoping in the future that they'll have the motion detections on the sides and persons and stuff on the right-hand side, but at the moment it's not there. But this is what we are playing with. So you can see me entering in that area just there. So this is the first one, and we're standing on the left-hand side, and you can see the PTZ picks me up quite quickly and then turns across. So I also have person tracking turned on at this point, so it's following me as I'm walking around, and then it goes back to the preset after 10 seconds, and then I walk off. And you can see it follows me around there. And then I've stood across to the side, and I've gone out of shot for both cameras now, so I'll give it a second, let it go back to the preset, so we'll wait about 10 seconds, and that's gone back to the preset, so that's the standard view for that area. And then you can see me coming into shot right here, so that turned fairly quickly. As soon as I entered that area, it's picked me up and it's now tracking me as I walk through. After 10 seconds, there you go, it's gone back to its preset and it's trying to follow me again. There you go, it's following me now, and it's going to zoom into me as I walk through as well. So the tracking does a really good job. The only thing you have to be careful of is the person tracking as it goes back to home after 10 seconds, and then it needs to pick you up again for it to follow you. One final test I did to see how well the tracking kind of works is I just jogged across the back side of my garden just to see how well the tracking picks up. And you can see it kind of got lost a little bit there. But then once I come back into frame, it's picked me up again and it's finding its way across. The reason I think it lost me the first time was purely because of the return to home preset. It picked me up in that motion area, so I think it had gone back to home. But you can see the tracking works quite well with me jogging across the garden. For those that wanted to see a physical comparison in terms of size between the G5 and the G6 PTZ, we can see that this is definitely a lot slimmer and there's a lot more fatter in this one in terms of the design. You can see the design at the top is fairly similar. There's just a bit of extra indent around here. In terms of the lens on the front, you can see the 2 versus 1. There's one big sensor on here and 2 sensors on here. And inside the box also is where it differs. You get the wall and the pole mount in here. And here's a quick look at the tech specs comparison between the two as well. So $100 difference between the two cameras. You go from 2K to 4K. They're both 30 frames per second. The IR night vision is a little bit longer, and we have that 1/1.8-inch sensor. You can see the field of view. I'm not going to read all of those out. They're both IP66 IK04 rated. They're both PoE Plus that require input. So the G5 PTZ is 14 watts and 24.5 watts is the G6 PTZ. Bear in mind that is max power consumption. That's not going to be the power consumption all the time, but you need to know that with your PoE budgeting. You have two-way audio with the G6 PTZ. The mounting options, as I mentioned, they're both polycarbonate and aluminium alloy. We have the quad-core ARM A53, but the G5 PTZ doesn't tell me what processor there is in there. We have the SD card for edge recording in the G6 PTZ, and we have the 2x optical zoom and the 10x hybrid zoom. And then the final part, if you want to see how this stacks up against the G6 family, you can see we have the Instant, the G6 Bullet, the G6 Turret, and the G6 PTZ. Now obviously this is the most expensive camera in the lineup, given it has the 2 sensors inside them as well, and it does have that slightly better quality in terms of zoom. So feel free to pause this at any point and have a look at the specs if you wish to do so, as I won't go through every single one. So what are my thoughts of this camera itself? Now for me, this is a big improvement from the G5 PTZ. I was really impressed with the distance that you can get with this and the clarity of the image. And obviously it's not as big as that AI or G4 PTZ that was there previously. It does come slightly bigger than this, but it's not that big where it's going to stand out massively wherever it has been mounted. I know a few of you have been asking about the in-ceiling mount, so once that comes out, the profile then does get a lot smaller. So let me know what your thoughts are on the G6 PTZ. Are you going to be deploying one in your setup, or are you going to be deploying them for your clients? For now, this is Inside Wire, and I'll see you in the next one.